I mean, I don't want to pull it out too much because I don't want to murder it by accident. Oh my goodness, that means it's happy. Look at these roots. I would like them to do something. Hello friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Emma, and today I figured let's start a new series. It's called What's Proppin'. You can probably tell what it is. Pretty obvious. I'm going to be showing you my propagations. Small disclaimer, What's Proppin' has been used by other people, but I couldn't find like a proper series on anyone's channel, so like I'm claiming it as my own. It's mine now. I'm just kidding. It's a word, you can use it if you want. But yeah, so what's proppin'? Let's grab some propagations. Look at all my props. Right, so these are what I'm propagating right now. As you can see, got a lot of moss in here, like a good amount of moss. And I think I've just like moved away from water propagation a bit. I used to really like it, but then I found transitioning from water to soil really difficult, and so it wasn't worth it in the end. Like a lot of my water propagations ended up failing. So it's just like, should I even continue water propagating? I don't know. There are ways to do it, and I'm sure I could figure it out, but I have moss, so let's moss propagate instead. Where to start? Okay. First off, we have this little baby anthurium. It is like a tiny little one. I got it from Mark in that collab video, and it was just grown from seed, I believe. And he sent it to me in this tiny little pot, which is adorable. But it's got some roots in there. Like that's a root. But I mean, I don't want to pull it out too much because I don't want to murder it by accident, because it's comfy in its little moss home. But yeah, I think this one's doing pretty well. When I got it, this leaf right here was loads smaller, like a lot smaller than the other leaf. It's grown quite a bit. It's like maybe tripled or quadrupled in size since I've had it. And this one's just been living in the IKEA cabinet. So I think it likes the high humidity in there. I think it's, I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's a Magnificum Forgetii combo. I'll write it on the screen if it's not, but I'm pretty sure it is that. So yeah, that's good. And it's in its little like pot that I got from Plants for All. And then also in moss, I have this Monstera Adansonii long form. It does have a new leaf that came with it when Mark sent it to me. A lot of these, like 6 of these are like things from Mark, but it had a new leaf and it's kind of unfurling, but it's also kind of getting a bit funkadelic in there, unfortunately. Like I don't think it is the happiest new leaf, but I mean, that's just because it was shipped, so that's fair. Let's see if it's got any roots. Absolutely no roots yet. That's fun. There it is, no roots, nothing in there. It's like it's got nodes, so it might work, but it's just hanging out in moss. Again, in the cabinet, it's like hanging on the back wall of the cabinet. And the moss is staying pretty wet, which is good. Next up, oh my goodness, I haven't opened this one in ages. Next up, I have this tiny little pot. This was like a sauce pot from like some takeaway we got at some point. And oh my goodness. Okay, let's show you there. This is a Monstera dubia, and it's just been rooting in moss this whole time. And oh my goodness, do you see that like tiny bit of new growth right there? It is so cute. Oh my goodness, that means it's happy. It's definitely got roots because it's like clinging onto the moss in here. Oh my God, that's so good, because I got another one from them as well. It was a bigger leaf and that just completely rotted. It never rooted in the moss, and so it just kind of like died. Maybe I'll have to put this in a bigger container, but I bet you it's really loving the humidity that it's got in its little like baby container. let's put you back in there for now and you can keep growing. Next up, I guess I could talk about my string of hearts because I've got like so freaking many of them. So this is the one that lives in the IKEA cabinet. Some of you might know I did propagate like my entire string of hearts plant. It got like super long and like looked really funny and it was super scraggly and leggy, and so I decided I'm gonna chop the entire thing up and I'm gonna propagate it. And so I cut loads and loads and loads of little butterflies, like each individual node, and put it in moss. And so I put this one in the IKEA cabinet. This one is doing super duper well. This one originally, I left it with the lid on, but I mean, obviously the sprouts got a bit too tall for that. So I now leave it with the lid off, but it's a bit more difficult to keep the like humidity high and like the moss doesn't stay as wet, which is like fine. I just have to pay more attention to it. But like it's going so well. Like look at all them, look at them jiggle. Look at them, they're so cute. So I've got that one, and then I've got this one as well. So these two that I just showed, those have been living on my like normal shelves, and I think they've been liking it a bit better. I think they get slightly more light there than in my IKEA cabinet. I only keep the grow lights in my IKEA cabinet on sometimes, and so it's not getting as much light. Also, for some reason, I think it needs water more often. Let me water this. When I water it, I just like fill it as much as I can, let it absorb for a little bit, and then I'll pour out the extra water. I got this method from Hartley G, so it's not my own method, but so far it's growing really well, and eventually I'll be able to pot these up like in a pot, because I don't think you can see roots on them yet. Like I'm not gonna pull it out. Basically, when I plant it up, I'm going to put the entirety of this whole thing on the surface of the soil. That's my plan. So we'll see how that goes. But those are all of my string of hearts that I butterflied. I also had some like random end cuttings. Like you could see the leaves are just so small and like kind of scraggly. So the end cuttings I ended up putting in water, and they're definitely rooted. So I started putting soil in it as well. Okay, that's kind of gross, but like you can see there's roots there. So I started putting soil in it as well to like try and acclimate the water roots to soil. So I started that and then I just kind of stopped. So maybe I should put more in again and like really get it to acclimate properly. But these are good. These will eventually go in my pot because I kept the pot with the tubers, or the bulbs, tubers, whatever. They just started sprouting back up again, and they've got quite long strands already. So I'm gonna put these ones back in there. Okay, so in here, got a little jar of perlite, which is meant to be wet, but I haven't watered it in a minute, so it's probably a bit dry. In here, I have a Hoya Propagation from Mark and a Tradescantia Sweetness, I believe, also from Mark. And these are just tiny little cuttings. Let me see if I can pull them out or if they'll be unhappy with that. Okay. Getting perlite everywhere, but you can see there are roots on that bad boy, and I'm sure there will be on the other as well. Like Tradescantia roots so freaking easily. They just root like it's nobody's business. In water as well, they're just really good at rooting. I'm just rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. They're rooting for me, ha ha ha. Name that reference. It's a pretty important one. It was a staple of my childhood. Okay, I'm not gonna be able to get that back in right now. I'll do that later. Let's see how the Pubicalyx is doing. I'm just gonna have to dump this out. Okay, let me get a bowl. Come on. Oh my goodness. Look at these roots. I mean, I know they're kind of hard to see because there's lots of perlite on them, but there's some definite rootage there. And, oh my goodness. So Hoya, I kind of struggle rooting because they root so freaking slowly. But, oh my goodness. Look at all those roots in there. That's so good. And, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this, but there is a tiny, tiny little growth point in there, which hopefully will grow some new growth. Yeah, so I'm gonna put these back in the perlite later. I've just had to pull them out. Yeah, should be fine. I need to wet this perlite as well because it's dry. Okay, what else? This is like a little bit boring, but I have some golden Pothos or devil's ivy just rooting in moss. I just cut up one of my big plants and like let them root. They're doing pretty well. They're rooting in there. Some new growth going on in there, I believe. But yeah, like these are just hanging. I have another one of these as well, but I figured they're a bit boring, so I don't need to show you both of them. Yeah, so golden Pothos. And then in this box here, I have a bunch of Satin Pawthos, like the typical normal Satin Pawthos. Like it's like Regis or Gregarious or something. I don't know how to pronounce it. And I've also got a bunch of pouring water on the floor. I've got a bunch of wet sticks of Philodendron Cobra or Monstera Standeliana in there, just to hope that they pop out some new growth. I'm sure they will, but yeah. These ones I just put in here, so I'm not gonna pull them out yet because I'm pretty sure they don't have roots. Like put in here in like the last week or so. So those are really good and happy. They're living next to the plants that I'm acclimating right now from my imports. So they're getting grow light and like quite a lot of humidity because the humidifier's on like all of the time at the minute. Trying to keep it above like 60 if possible. So they're getting lots of humidity, which I'm sure they love. These ones, I've got perlite everywhere, sorry. These are some golden Pothos wet sticks that I did. When I cut the big plant, I also cut these wet sticks. So these literally grew from a single node. And now I've got leaves. They've got little leaves on there. How cute is that? Which means they probably also have roots. Again, I don't feel like pulling them out just because they don't need to be pulled out. But yeah, they're doing really well. I'm pretty proud of that. I haven't really like done much wet stick propagation in my time, so figured it'd be fun to give it a go. And like with a plant like golden Pothos that like there's no consequence for, like it's not the end of the world if I lose a bit. It was like a good test. So those are doing really well. Next up, we have this cup. In this cup is a Philodendron Milono Chrysome top cutting. It did have a leaf here and that leaf rotted off. So I might end up taking this like sheath off because that's a bit gross. Let's pull it out and see what's up. It's quite a large top cutting. So it is growing roots, like it is rooting in there, but I have heard it takes a little while to root these ones. And like, especially since the like new leaf died. So that's good, that's really happy. I'm glad that one's rooting because I was really worried about it because a Milono is an expensive plant. Given I got mine as a gift, but like still, I want it to succeed. But yeah, so I was a bit bummed about this, like top cutting, leaf dying, but should be fine. I can't imagine it being that bad, so that's good. We've got this is another one from Mark. I can never remember what it's called exactly, but it's like a pulchence or something. No, that was the Nandurium I got. Starts with a P. I'm gonna put it on the screen, But it is just this little guy here in some moss. Let me see if I can see if he's rooting. I mean, he's really stuck to the moss, so I would assume that's a good sign. Oh, he must have like really thin, spindly roots. Yeah, okay, so he's got like loads of really thin roots. So I'm not going to pull it out of the moss. Let me see, I can try and show you. But like that's the back of it there. And there's some tiny spindly roots in there that I don't want to break off because it just sounds like I'm breaking them if I'm trying to pull it out. It's just hanging. I'm not really sure what it's doing, but it seems happy enough. So that's what matters really, right? It's got some new growth since I've had it even. It's got new growth at the top there. So it is happy, which that's fine. As long as it's happy, that's what I care about really. Got 3 more. So first off, we have another little takeaway container that's got water in it that I'm gonna spill, so I may as well use it. But in this, we have some Skindapsis Moonlight on this side and some Skindapsis Silvery Ann on this side. This one has loads of roots, like you can see them going around there, and on this side there's tons. So there's like definitely some rootage going on in there, which is really good. Just some new growth there. Yeah, I just cut these because the like vines were getting a little bit too long for what I wanted. But they're really happy. They've been rooting in moss for a while now. So I think I probably would be able to plant them up soon. Especially because like those roots are intense, which is great. So those are doing really well. And then along the same vein, when I cut those leaves, I also did a bunch of wet sticks here, which really have not done very much. Like they're trying to root, but not very much. Some of them have some sprouts of new growth because they had cakey paste on them, but there's really no roots in here yet. So I'm not like worried about them, but I would like them to do something. But yeah, so those are okay. And then I think last, but certainly not least, I have my little IKEA container, which is where I prop my little Alocasia bulbs. So I have this one right here, which is a little bit bigger. And then I have this tiny little babe, this one. And these are both Alocasia dragon scale, because I just repotted my dragon scale into a slightly bigger pot, and I found these in the soil, so I figured let's root them. So I've got my little shallow puddle, my coined shallow puddle method. TM, JK, it's not TM, but like, you know, we can pretend. Hashtag me if you use this method. But I just keep it in a little shallow puddle of water. And I open it every once in a while to like make sure they're getting air and to make sure that they're not rotting. If they start getting slimy or growing mold or getting squishy, I will treat that. If they're squishy, they're going in the bin, but if it's like a little bit of mold, I might be able to like wipe that off. So I do that. But yeah, that's everything I'm propagating right now. I have so many propagations. Actually, not that many comparatively. A lot of them are just string of hearts. But yeah, I think I've got a good amount of propagations at the minute. It is spring, and so I probably will be propagating more soon. When there are updates, I will update you. But yeah, for now, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you want me to make more in this series, what's proppin', give it a thumbs up down below and comment on other houseplants you'd like me to talk about, or houseplanty things or stuff. Really, if you want me to talk about moss propagation and my thoughts on that in like a bigger thing, or perlite propagation, let me know. I can do that. And if you didn't know, I have a Patreon where you can subscribe for bonus content, which would be really fun for you and really fun for me, and we can get to know each other better, and it'll be a grand old time. But yeah, there are my shameless plugs. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!